Welcome to this meeting of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning. Today is Friday the 4th of December at 49 hours, and I wish to welcome all the members that joined us here this afternoon, also all the officials. We've got the deliberation on the annual reports of the Department of Agriculture and of CACIDRA for the year 2019-2020. The format will be as follows. I will first allow the Department of Agriculture to do their presentation and take us through the annual report. Members will then be given an opportunity to ask questions, the department to respond, and then the process will repeat itself for CACIDRA, where they will take us through their annual report. Members will have an opportunity to respond, and then there will be an opportunity for us as members of the committee to proceed to resolutions or to decide on any actions that we would like to undertake going forward. There's also been a request from our procedural officer, Ms. Nikak, that we consider the draft committee minutes of the 17th of November and the 27th of November. She said that a short while ago. And when we come to that point on the agenda, I'll ask members whether you believe you've had an opportunity to quickly peruse those minutes. I think Ms. Nikak would appreciate if she could go into the festive season. Only today's meetings minutes are outstanding. A special word of welcome to our MEC, Dr. Ivan Meyer, and then also to the chair of CACIDRA. We will give you an opportunity to address us a little bit later, but a hearty welcome to you all. Can I then just ask that the members that are present quickly be given an opportunity to just introduce themselves? My name is Andrikus van der Westhuizen. I'm the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning. And with that, I invite our members just to quickly introduce themselves too.
Edrey Bartman, member of the committee.
Matlodi Maseko, member of the committee.
Pat Maran, member of this committee.
Thank you. And then I see Honourable Murray is also listed as being present, and I did see his microphone going on. Honourable Murray, I could, however, not hear you. Can you hear us clearly?
Chairman Peter Murray, I notify my presence at this meeting.
Thank you so much. Thank you, honourable members. We appreciate you making time for this meeting. And with that, can I quickly ask also Dr. Sebu Petsa, would you like to introduce your delegation for this afternoon, please?
Chairperson, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you and the members. I am joined in the room by my Chief Financial Officer, Floris Eisama, the DDG for Agricultural Development Support Services, Mr. Daniel Jacobs, the Chief Director for the Veterinary Services, Dr. Msiza, and the Head of Business Planning and Strategy, Dr. Dan Trotsky. But all my program managers are here. Jerry Aris, responsible for farmer support and development. Ilse Troutman, responsible for research, technology and development. Hayley Rodkin, responsible for the college. Asia Peterson, responsible for sustainable resource management. And last but not least, Bongiso Matoti, agricultural economics services. So the whole team is here to engage the committee and respond to all your questions. Chairperson, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sebu Petsa. I will give an opportunity later on during the meeting when we come to CACIDRA for Mr. Neft to also introduce the CACIDRA delegation. We have received an apology from the acting CEO of CACIDRA, Mr. Van Zyl, for this afternoon's meeting. I just at this stage also would like to welcome the chair of the Council of CASIDRA, Mr. Ainsley Moos, to our meeting as well. And with that, I want to hand over to our MEC, Dr. Ivan Meyer, for some introductory remarks. You're most welcome at our meeting, and we look forward to listening to you, Dr. Meyer.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members of the Standing Committee, and thank you for this opportunity to present the annual report for 2019-20 financial year, Vote 11, the Department of Agriculture here in the Western Cape. Chair, I think the key priorities of the Department of Agriculture remains education, training and research, rural safety, farmer support and development, as well as market access, climate, and particularly as it relates to the drought in the Provincial River. This was very discussion. I hear some background noise there. So, Chair, I then, given that noise, I will then conclude by saying that this was a year that Joanne Isaacs was also partly responsible for, and the HOD, Dr. Sepo Petse, took over in a very important year, but we will continue with the work of the department. This is a report that is starting from the 1st of April last year till the 31st of the 30th of April, 31st of March 2020. So on that note, Chair, I would very much like to then hand back to you, and the HOD will take us through the report.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer. And as Dr. Meyer indicated, I would like now to hand over to Dr. Mogale Sebopetsa to just introduce the report to us. Dr. Sebopetsa, over to you.
Chair, thank you very much for this opportunity. We are tabling the report of 2019-20. I want to lift just a few highlights for the year under review. This was the year, Chairperson, that agriculture started to see, some relief in terms of the challenges of drought. It was in 2019 whereupon we started receiving some rains. And if you compare 2019-20 and the previous years, really 2019-20 was indeed where the sector was beginning to emerge out of the drought. And Chairperson, you would also know that that is predominantly for the 4 districts of the province, because the Matsikama and the Karoo are still affected. And because of that, we had spent about 63.8 million in the year under review, mainly on fodder, to over 1,700 farmers. But this year also had seen an introduction of the new diploma at the college that was accredited to us by SAQA, South African Qualifications Authority. And this year, from the month of January, we started enrolling students into that particular diploma, and excitement space to be in for us as a department. But thirdly, the third point I want to raise is really the issue around the 4th Industrial Revolution. 2 years ago, we had undertook a study that looked at the extent to which the 4th IR will impact our sector. And that study pointed us to a number of opportunities. But the key one was the issue around the drone technology. And in the report, we're also indicating the fact that there was a very important workshop that was arranged in the year under review, whereupon we're beginning to start creating awareness around this particular technology, to the extent that we're even invited to write a chapter, Chairperson, on drone technology, which book was actually the bestseller or distributed by Amazon within the first few hours when it was launched. For us, that is also important. But in general, Chairperson, I also want to indicate that you are sitting with a report that indicates that the department has met about 89% of its targets. which for us it's quite an important achievement. More so because from the second week of March, when with the arrival of COVID-19 in our space, we were challenged in one way or another because we had to close some of our services when the president made the announcement and so on. But 89% achievement in terms of the targets for us, we think it's a great achievement. Chair, those are just some of the highlights I really want to put forth before the committee. I heard you earlier on saying the presentation of the report. Our thinking was that the report is tabled and then the committee will engage with us in terms of where there are questions and so on. I want to pause there, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sebupetsa. And with that, honorable members, this is now your opportunity to pose questions. Can I ask or just point out that we will be dealing with parts A, B, and D of the annual report today. SCOPA, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, will be dealing with sections C and E, particularly when it comes to the financial reporting. And therefore, if I could ask that we just maintain that discipline and limit ourselves to parts A, B, and D of the annual report. Can I just get an indication from members by raise of hands? Would you please be so kind as to indicate whom of you would like to ask some questions or put some questions to the department? Thank you so much. I see Honorable Maseku's hand. Perhaps I can just give a few seconds for those of you that are still looking for that function on your screens or on your phones. Then Honorable Maran. So first will be Maseku, and then Maran.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Honorable Maseku, will you do us the honor to go first, please?
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, again, just before I ask my question, which I just have only one question, is to just congratulate the department for this financial year, for the sterling work that they did under the difficult circumstances. We still have a long way to go, but I believe that with everything that is in front of us, we know that we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I just want to find out, Chair, is it okay if I ask a question from the report of the accounting officer?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Honorable Member, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair, I just want to find out from the HOD, there is a 70% of the additional water that is earmarked at the Glen William Dam. And in the report, he's saying that that is resources for the poor farmer development and the balance to improve the water supply of these existing water allocations. I think when we went for the oversight, the question that was not clear to us is the criteria that is going to be used. Because if you say the poor, after we went through the drought, especially in that region, the language from national was the HDIs, and then from the report is the poor, and which I believe that the poor with the drought, it doesn't matter what color, whether you are HDI as a farmer, it might be you have been hit hard even though you were doing well. So what criteria is going to be used for that allocation of the water to the farmers, that percentage of 70%? Thank you, Chair. That's the only question that I have.
Thank you, Honorable Maseku, and I trust that the HOD and these officials are making notes of the questions. With that, over to you, Honorable Maran.
Thanks, Chairperson. I don't have a lot of questions for this session, Chair. But before I go into the questions, Chair, remember we are doing things differently this year. Last year we were sitting in the house dealing with the questions, and you have a lot of documents next to you, which you could have consulted in terms of whatever you wanted to ask or to go and check. So here, Chair, we have to do everything on our computer, logged into the meeting, go and look for your questions on the computer, and also consult the reports. That's basically within the file somewhere. So you must be patient with us, Chair. But also, Chair, I'm also a bit upset. That's why I don't want to be annoyed today of what you have said yesterday, but it's fine. We're going to deal with it at some stage. Chair, I just wanted to check with the HOD. Brandvlei Dam. I remember last year, and I think it was at the beginning when we just entered as new MPLs, and the Premier then, when he addressed Parliament, was saying that he's not going to wait for national government anymore. When it comes to the province, he will just do, and he will find the money to do things. Last year, for instance, 20 million rand for the Brandvlei Dam was budgeted for. And I think in the first or second adjustment, the money was then surrendered to the Provincial Revenue Fund. And the reason, Chair, was that no, the National Department will start implementing for October because they have just waited for the rainy season to pass. Again, Chair, at the beginning of this financial year in the main budget, again, there was a 20 million rand for the same purpose. And with the first adjustment budget, the 20 million rand was then surrendered to the Provincial Revenue Fund. Reason being, explained to us, was that it is not our mandate. It's not our function. It's not our mandate. Chair. Now, it was not, Chair, I mean, when have we realized that it's not our mandate? Because we know most of the national responsibility. The Premier have said we're not going to wait. Therefore, if he have asked for 20 million rand to be put in the budget, and this year, it was said it's not our mandate, Chair. It seems that we are not serious when it comes to that particular issue because it can unlock, we have said it can unlock between 3,000 and 5,000 hectares of land for the agriculture purpose, but also it can create, I think, between 5 and 10,000, both permanent and seasonal work, Chair. So I just want to check, Chair, what happened to that particular issue that we're not going to wait, specifically to the HOD? Is this question directed? And when have we realized that it's not our mandate? That's the one, Chair. Chair, then on page 20, there's this thing, Chair, of the slaughter and then the selling of illegal meat. Chair, just tell me what makes it illegal, the meat illegal. I would have understood if it was said that the illegal slaughtering and then the illegal selling of meat, but I don't understand the wording by saying is illegal meat. Maybe the selling is illegal, but the meat, I mean, if I, for instance, bought a sheep and I go and slaughter it in the squatter camp, not following the health processes, the meat still is not illegal. The selling might be illegal. I just want an explanation in terms of that, Chair. But also then, how are we going to assist those particular sector to overcome the challenges that they are currently experiencing? That's the one. Chair, page 36. The negative impact of the reduction of the CASP was 21 million rand, and the impact that it's going to have on black farmers. Why pointing out black farmers? CASP, your Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program, is meant to assist farmers, whether black, blue, green, or white. Why single out black farmers? The way it's put, Chair, it seems as if black farmers is going to take the fall for the 1 million rand that was being surrendered, Chair. I just want to like an understanding of that, Chair. So let me stop there first.
Thank you, Honourable Moran. In the absence of any further hands at the moment, if you would allow me, members, to just pose my questions. Starting, first a remark, and perhaps you can just give me clarity on this. On page 14, there's an amount mentioned, and my impression is that this amount, or this way of citing amounts, it's in the second last paragraph on page 14, that the same, what I perceive to be a mistake, happened in a presentation last week on the budget as well, the second adjustment budget. 2,351 million in my book amounts to more than 2 billion. And I'm just wondering whether these amounts, also the ones cited in your presentation last week, are not lacking a comma, so that it's 2,351 million rand. I think Lorwa would appreciate 2 billion rand, but it's my reading of this that 2,351 million is lacking a comma there after between the 2 and the 3. Then just in terms of first the training at Elsenburg, I want to say congratulations on achieving that accreditation and being able to start with that training program. I was quite concerned last year when we visited the Training Institute about the approval process from the Council of Higher Education. When eventually did we receive that accreditation to be able to proceed with that program? Because it's my impression that students have been enrolling for the program even before we received the final accreditation. That's on page 18. On page 20, there's mention of the ostrich industry. Now, we do know that the ostrich industry has been quite hard hit quite often over the last number of years, but particularly with the bird flu. And as you call it, heat-treated meat that is being exported. Now, my impression is that, or my feedback is that many foreign chefs, etc., they do not want to start with a heat-treated piece of meat. They want to start cooking with raw meat, and that because of that, the export of ostrich meat has been negatively affected severely. And perhaps you can just tell us about the prospects for that industry, and what are the chances of us being able to eradicate the virus, or being able to contain the virus to such an extent that we would be able to export ostrich meat as in the past. Then just back to the Training Institute, 2 questions on page 21. The first one is, you say you've been able to place all the students for practical work on farms. To what extent does that prove to be a challenge to find farmers that would be able to not only accept students for practical work, but also be able to ensure that the farm is suitable to support and augment the theoretical training? Obviously, agriculture, as we all know, is quite a wide sector, and obviously not all farms have got the necessary diversity or the necessary fields of expertise to fit in with the specific training modules that the students have been exposed to. If you could also, on page 21, where you speak about the bursaries and the problems regarding funding, to what extent or what is necessary for our students to also qualify for NSFAS funding? Would we need, is it a problem? And secondly, would we need a policy decision at the central government level for our students to also be able to access that? Then, Dr. Sewapesa, if we could jump quite a number of pages, and I want to go to page 106. On page 106, there's a term that you use, agro-ecosystem management plan. Perhaps if you could just explain that, and the reason why it has particularly attracted my attention is that you say that the Western Cape hasn't got the capacity, yet it seems to me as if it may be kind of a prescribed indicator that you need to report on. Then on page 113, T3.3.1, where you report on the number of vegetable, can I call it initiatives? Is this the same target that Casidra is reporting on? And therefore, do you believe it is right to duplicate, should that be the case, in terms of your reporting as well as the report of Casidra, what they are undertaking? And then on page 115, I've just got a question there regarding the target. Perhaps I can just, as Honorable Marana said, we must now look on our screens and we must switch it clockwise, etc. In quite a number of cases with the targets, you use a sentence which you say not reported on during this period. Now, not reported on, does it mean that there is no target, that former target has not been carried over into the last year or during? So what, if you could just explain, because there are quite a number of blocks or fields where you say that not reported on during this period. I don't quite get it. Why would you not be reporting on that? Or should you rather just say, listen, this target was removed? With that, thank you. Let me just quickly check whether there are any further hands at this point in time before I hand back to Dr. Sebopetsa. Dr. Sebopetsa, will you please proceed?
Chair, thank you very much for the questions. I have a very capable team in the room. We'll be working together to respond to the questions. Chair, I want to start with your questions. Perhaps start with the last one about indicators where it's indicated that it's not reported for this period. The truth is that where you see that it means that that indicator description has changed, or it is taken into either transversal indicators, because transversal indicators are defined by all 9 provinces. And if what we had been reporting over the years all of a sudden becomes a transversal indicator, it becomes a double counting for us to report. We rather count it in the transversal indicator. So it's about indicators that may have changed over the years. And I want to also indicate that indicators are changed largely based on evaluations that we conduct from time to time as a department. I think that's the first one. Your question on page 113 about the number of household initiatives, whether those are the same as the ones Casidra is reporting on, I want to believe and confirm, yes, it is. It must be understood, Chair, that Casidra does the implementing of these projects. So Casidra will count what they've implemented, whereas those are actually reported by us in terms of the output that is required according to the national government that gives conditional grants to us. Your question on page 106, I'm going to give that to Darian. He'll respond to that. Your question on page 21 around access to bursaries and funding for students, whether the college qualifies or college students qualifies for NSFAS. That happens to be the reason why National is pushing the way they are pushing to move the colleges into higher education. That is really the challenge, because the colleges, as we speak now, college students do not qualify for NSFAS. And Chair, you'd also know that we have got a position in the Western Cape around the Elsenburg College. We believe strongly that it is well positioned, well suited in the Western Cape, and in fact, it's one of the top performing colleges. But just to indicate, the college students don't qualify for NSFAS in the current dispensation. Your question on page 21 as to whether how difficult it is to get farmers to host students. I'm happy to indicate it is not that difficult in the Western Cape. In fact, we've got close to 80 memoranda of agreements with host farmers across the province that are willing and able to host our students to enable them to get the practical experience towards their qualification. Your question on page 20, Dr. Msiza will respond to it around the heat-treated meat for export with regard to the export of ostrich. Dr. Msiza will respond to that. Your comment on page 14, I want to concede. I think it's a mistake. There should have been a comma there. It's 2.3 odd million. That is there, not a billion. I think a lot of us would be very happy to get billions, but it's actually 2.3 odd million, as we reported previously when we had a discussion with the committee. Just to quickly move to the questions that Honorable Marian had raised. I think he raised a question around the CASP reduction and why are we mentioning black farmers in particular. CASP is allocated to us with conditions. That's why it's called conditional grant, and it is strictly for black farmers. We are not allowed to use it for any other business except for black farmers or black empowered businesses. So that is the condition that CASP is received by us from the National Agriculture. Your second question on the slaughter and the selling of illegal meat, I'm going to allow the head of veterinary services to respond to that. Member Maseko, you raised a question on the criteria for allocation of water for the Glen William. I must indicate that that will be determined by the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. Our view in the previous discussions with them, it's predominantly resource poor farmers, but it's not a decision that lies with us. It is something that we want to influence as and when we are given the opportunity to do so. But that decision rests squarely with Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. The other question raised by Member Marian about when did we realize that Brandflay is not our mandate. The truth of the matter is that water, indeed, it's not our mandate, but we remain a very concerned and a committed shareholder because we want to see a success. You correctly indicate the number of hectares that Brandflay could unlock. We believe strongly in that, and that is why 20 million that was made available Had it not be because National indicated to us that they're going to start in October, that funding would still be available for us to be able to do it. But luckily, they also budgeted for it, and my information was that they were going to start in October, and it's because of that we then released that funding to assist the province to attend to the COVID challenges. Chair, I want to pause there and hand over to Darrell immediately, and Dr. Msiza will respond to other issues around ostrich and heat-treated meat. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. In response to the question around page 106, the agri-ecosystem, and it is really a capacity issue because the kind of plan that is referred to is a proactive land use plan which is developed in partnership with municipalities in identifying and agreeing which agricultural land will not be developed. And at the moment, we are really constrained in terms of capacity around the land use side of things. And so, and of course, this is a transversal indicator. In other words, it comes from national. And we've been very open to say that there's a long way that we still need to go before we're in a position to engage all of our municipalities and have a comprehensive land use plan, which is developed in partnership with each of the municipalities. So yes, it's exactly for that reason that we are not, and we have been granted exemption from reporting on that transversal indicator. The other question I want to respond to was around page 18, the question around accreditation. Did we start enrolling students for the diploma program before accreditation had been received? No, Chairperson and members, we did not. The accreditation was received towards the latter part of 2019, and we could only start registering students after accreditation was received, and that was so that we could actually resume the program with effect from January 2020. So that's in relation to the process. And the HOD has responded to the other questions with regards to college. Yeah, I think just one further point around NSFAS, and that is the students who register for the B-Agric program through Stellenbosch University are able to qualify for, at least to apply for NSFAS funding. But as we know, our biggest challenge is probably within the diploma area. And those students do not qualify for NSFAS funding. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Msiza.
Thank you, Chair. The question posed, I'm going to respond to one of illegal meat. Unfortunately, I think the issue is governed by the Act. We are governed by the Meat Safety Act, which is Act 40 of 2000, which specifically governs the manner with which meat can be distributed, procured, or sold within not only the province, but within the country. There is a fundamental is that no one is allowed to sell meat unless it has been processed through a registered abattoir. So any person who sells meat or who makes meat available for consumption other than his own, if it's not done the meat has not been processed from the approved abattoir, that meat is considered as illegally sourced meat. And the Act normally actually prescribes that meat must be confiscated and destroyed. So noting the thing, so currently we have not really been that draconian in ensuring that meat is confiscated. We use a developmental thing where we engage people to ensure that they understand the need to ensure that only meat that is, they only sell the meat that is only procured through the registered abattoirs. There have been means to ensure that such facilities are made available. There was one, the target of Nyanga, and the other one in Kailicha that we were trying to set up some sort with the local involvement of an abattoir that will be used to set to make sure that they have access to the meat that is sold through the abattoir. And if you know that most of the communities around there, they are already having the meat that is sold from the approved abattoirs. So the other question that was posed as to whether are you not allowed to have a meat other than if it's sold, then is that not allowed? The fact is that the Act makes provisions for exemptions. If you procure meat, I mean, you buy an animal and you slaughter it for your own consumption, the Act makes provision for that one. That one is perfectly in order. Or if you slaughter meat for religious or cultural processes, that thing is made exempted and it's allowed. But it's only in the instances when the meat is sold, then when it becomes illegal. And one of the biggest reason of doing that thing is that you'll recall that a lot of diseases, zoonosis and other diseases that ultimately end up in humans, meat and milk tends to be the biggest source of ensuring that they are being transmitted. So the act partly is to ensure that we prevent the general public from being exposed. And finally, you'll also recall is not only the safety, just the access to the meat, but the safety thereof. And if you don't do that thing, I think you check, and we have been tracking and checking with the Department of Health, the number of people who have other gastrointestinal or food poisoning and all those things, and that could be linked. In short, we are aware of the act, but we try by all means to ensure that the people ultimately have access to the meat that is sourced and processed in an approved abattoir to ensure that the safety thereof is guaranteed. Thank you, Chair. The other one of the ostriches, Dr. Dirk will respond to that one. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, thank you. In terms of the ostriches, you are totally right. The heat-treated meat is sold in a totally different part of the market abroad. Even if you go into a supermarket where your fresh meat is sold, is totally different from where your semi-processed meat is sold, which is meat product, heat-treated ostrich meat. It's also exported under a different HS code. The problem we are sitting with is that avian influenza is something that is transmitted by wild birds. And the main question is how to manage this situation in the future. And the best way of doing this is probably by partitioning. In other words, where in foot and mouth disease, for instance, there's an area that is north of which foot and mouth disease is prevalent, and south of that line, foot and mouth disease is not prevalent, it's controlled. So the idea is to have different areas which is partitioned within which one can control avian influenza. And if there's an outbreak in that area, then it is not the whole country that's closed down, but it's only that particular area. However, to do that, there's a lot of rules and regulations, and of which national has got most control, which is currently the major challenge in that regard. In terms, the HOD has started with the explanation on your last question, that is not reported during this period. If you will allow me, I can use a particular example to show what the HOD has explained. So if you can look at page 121, the top of page 121, you will see there's an indicator T4.2.1, and underneath that indicator, underneath T421, there's an indicator with no number. So the indicators with numbers are those that has been published in the annual performance plan. Remember, the annual report is a report on what is in the annual performance plan. So the one without number, both of them is about export certification, but the one without a number is number of clients, service for animal, etc. And the one with a number is number of export control certificates issued. So in the bottom one, you count the number of clients, and in the top one is the number of export certificates. So there's a fundamental change from counting the number of clients to counting the number of indicators. So one cannot continue from year to year on that one. So for that reason, one sees the number of clients, the performance in 2016-17 was 385, the next year 384, and then not reported on during this period. But then when one look at the certificates, then started in 2018-2019, 16,173. So for the 2421 was not reported in 16 and 17, but then the series started in 2018-2019. And the one without the number, we indicated in 2016 and 2017, and then not reported during this period. Now, we will still, in next year's annual report, you will still find this, because next year's annual report, we will have to report from 2017-18 to 2020-21. So it will still be in next year's annual report, but the year after that, this particular indicator of the number of clients will then have disappeared from the report. I hope this will explain of why we are doing it in this way.
Chair, thank you. Thank you very much. That's all from our side. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Sebopetsa. Honourable members, are there any further questions or any follow-up questions from your side that you would like to put? If I could just get an indication by means of raise of hands.
Chair.
Honourable Maran, you may proceed.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Look, Chair, thanks for the HOD for the explanation of the CASP, because I had a different understanding. We are not too old to learn. Chair, you've seen in our WhatsApp group, I've said that I'm not sure whether it's on my side, been locked out of the meeting a couple of times. So I could not capture everything that was answered. But I've heard the explanation in terms of CASP. The issue of Brandvlei Dam, I haven't heard that. That's the one. And secondly, Chair, I just wanted to check the issue of illegal meat. And then it was said that if you procure your meat for the abattoir, it will be regarded as legal, which I don't think it's correct. Because the explanation was, if you procure, say, maybe direct from the farmer, go to the farm, buy a sheep or a cow, and slaughter it for your own human consumption, it won't be regarded as illegal. Even if it's not slaughtered by the abattoir, it won't be regarded as illegal. But if you go to the farm, buy directly from the farmer and then go to the abattoir to be slaughtered to the abattoir, and then bring into consideration the health issue, and then you slaughter it, it won't be regarded as illegal when you're selling it. That's my understanding, because my initial question was, Chair, what makes it illegal if I have paid for it? But my understanding is that, and I agree, that you have to, if you want to sell your meat, you have to, it has to be slaughtered by an abattoir for you to can sell it, Chair. So that's my understanding. Mine was just what makes the meat illegal. If it's the act, then it's the act, but I got another understanding in terms of that, because if I've paid for it for human consumption, it won't be illegal if I eat it myself. But if I follow the same process, buy it from the farmer directly, then take it to the abattoir, sell it, then it won't be illegal. Again, thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Maran. I'm going to ask the officials just now. You say you unfortunately missed some of the explanation, and I would like to give the officials an opportunity to just repeat what they have said in this regard. You want to come in again?
Chair, just to be clear, the issue of CASP, I've captured that explanation. The same with the issue of the meat. I've also heard that explanation. It's just on the issue of the dam, whether there's still an appetite to build it, to continue with the dam, to raise the walls of that particular dam to increase the water capacity. Thanks. I'm not sure whether there was an explanation in terms of that.
Yes, let's give the officials an opportunity then just to repeat or to respond to your dam question. Dr. Sebopetsa, will you please respond to the dam question? And that is spelled
Chair,
D-A-M.
I can also, Chair, it's the Minister here. I'm also happy to respond to that question directly.
Please, will you please proceed, MEC?
Thank you very much, Chair. And I think Honourable Member Pat Maran is correct. He's doing his oversight work in terms of the Brandvlei Dam. This is a long history. Even when I was the MEC for Finance, we had this discussion. I took a site visit. The Standing Committee undertook a site visit. I've engaged with the Department of Water Affairs. In fact, as recently as about 3-4 weeks again, I have contacted the colleagues there because they have indicated to us that they will start the dam in October. I then followed it up because I wanted to do a site inspection together with Dr. Trotsky and the team. I was then told, no, they're not ready yet. And as you know, they can only start the raising of the dam in summer. The previous round, they missed that period, and when we went into winter. And I'm also, just as Honourable Member Pet Maran, very frustrated about the continued delay of the raising of the canal. And I think his question is direct. Is there still an appetite in this department to continue with that project? Obviously, yes. Is it frustrating? Very much frustrating. Will we continue with Water Affairs to pursue this matter? Absolutely, yes. We are now already at the end of the year, but I'm still continue making contact, even WhatsApp messages, and I've received some messages. I've communicated it also back to the officials that I want to see this thing happening before the end of this financial year. So yes, it is a very long, frustrating experience, not something that we are proud of, but something that we will still have to pursue no matter the difficulties and complexities and the issues of the relationships. It is very difficult, and I think it will make a huge difference in terms of bringing more of the area under irrigation. There's absolutely a clear case that this is a no-brainer. It must happen. But I think Honourable Member Maran is absolutely correct. It's a very painful and frustrating experience, and one that I'm not particularly proud of, but not one that I'm simply just going to abandon. We will still pursue it. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, MEC. If I remember correctly, it's one of those projects where people would say it's a no-brainer. For the expense of 20 million rand, the value that would be unlocked far surpasses that. So it's typically one of those projects where one wouldn't even blink an eye if you had to borrow money, because you would be able to generate such a lot of money from that investment that it just makes sense. But I think what you've highlighted and what Honourable Maran is obviously also stressing is that the summer season is already here, and the preparatory work, such as going out on tender, etc., should have been done. Otherwise, we are again going to wait for another year for this project to come off the ground, so to say. Honourable Maran, can I ask you that you perhaps keep that as a topic for a possible resolution? Because I think the facts we now have, the question now is, how are we as a committee going to take that forward? And at the end of this meeting, we will be discussing resolutions and action steps. Would that be fine with you, Honourable Maran?
Chair, no problem, but I'm happy with the explanation by the MEC, but I thought that part of his response, because it's 2 summers now. Remember, it was supposed to be last year, October, and again, this year, October have passed. So I will admit there's a failure from national government side in terms of this particular issue. But what I like to understand, because last year the Premier have said that we're not going to wait. How long are we going to wait before we're going to say, let's use our own money? You yourself raised the issue of income that can be generated from this particular project. Mine was just to hear that we're not going to wait for another year or another year or another year. Here we're going to use our own monies. We're going to get that money. In fact, we're going to get it back in terms of the income that will be generated over whether it's 10 or 20 years. But it's fine. I'm happy with what you are saying, that we can keep it maybe for a resolution and to show how we're going to take it from there onwards. Thanks.
But Chair, I think I need to give the committee maybe additional information that I've received from the Department of Water Affairs. And this is the report I gave. It says the report given to me stated that it is the plan to commence in November 2020 Of course, COVID had a knock-on effect on all the projects, but I'm expecting an update on this by the end of this week. The budget is there, and construction company was appointed to do the work as part of another bigger project in the area to reduce site establishment overheads. This came from the DDG infrastructure branch from the water affairs. So I have daily, weekly, trying to follow up these particular issues. And I'm not going to bore you with some other stuff in terms of the terms of reference and other works in the area. But this is a matter, and I'm very happy that Honorable Pet Maran is keeping us on our toes to pursue this matter. And I think the day when we raise the levels, I think we will also invite him, because I think he has been a champion for seeing the oversight that this work must happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Much appreciated. And thank you also for sharing that information with us. It seems to me that is fresh from the horse's mouth. So we really appreciate that. Honorable Maran, would you like to respond before we step off?
I'm happy. I'm happy, and I'm also happy for the additional information that we are. And after matter, the MEC got my full support. He must not relax to put pressure on the National Department, because 5,000 jobs for Brede Valley, between Brede Valley and Langeberg, can be created. And as I've said, I think it's between 3,000 and 5,000 hectares of land. Chair, as we have said earlier, Chair, the agriculture will be the biggest job creator within the next couple of years, Chair. And I think we should push to make sure that that happens. But I thank the MEC for his response, and I also thank the MEC for the additional information that we have now received. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Maran. Then Dr. Sibupetsa, before we move over to Casidra, are there any final remarks that you would like to do?
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think one wants to appreciate yourself and the members for creating this time for us to engage in the report, and thank you for the continued support. And yeah, that's all from us. But I also want to add one line around Member Marian's understanding around illegal meat and slaughter. I can confirm that your understanding is correct. Is exactly what my head of vets indicated, that it becomes only illegal when you sell what you've slaughtered yourself. Otherwise, you're allowed to slaughter and consume and on your own. It becomes against the law when you sell what you've slaughtered, unless it comes from a registered, approved, and audited abattoir. Chairperson and members, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sibupetsa, and thank you very much. I don't want to preempt what the committee will decide eventually, but from my side, I want to say thank you very much for a beautiful annual report. It was really informative to read through the report, and we wish you well for this current year. And it was nice to hear from you also that agriculture in the Western Cape is recovering from the severe drought conditions, etc. And despite the budget cuts and discipline that we had to apply in terms of the budget spending, we're looking forward to the next annual report, and particularly with the weather conditions that we've seen in the past winter. And we are holding thumbs that the climate will be kind to those farmers that are now moving into the summer harvest season, the deciduous fruit, the wine farms, table grapes, etc. We wish you well in your support of farming and agriculture in the Western Cape. So thank you very much. And with that, I then would like to move over to the annual report of Casidra. I've already welcomed Mr. Ainsley Moores as the chair of the Casidra board, and I think I have indicated earlier that Mr. David Neft would be leading the delegation today, going through the Casidra annual report. But before I hand over to Mr. Neft, Mr. Moos, would you like to share your thoughts with the committee?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you for the opportunity. Maybe just to make a few high-level and introductory comments, Chairperson, before we hand over to Mr. Neft. Chairperson, in the year under review, CACIDRA's board and management remain committed and focused to deliver on CACIDRA's mandate, which is really to implement key projects to advance the quality of life of resource-poor communities in rural parts of the Western Cape province. In the year under review, CACIDRA entrenched its position as a key role player in the implementation of government-funded projects, and one in particular we can note, Chairperson, is the transfer of the Anhalt farm to the Haarlem community in the Langkloof area of the province. Chairperson, then just very quickly, one significant challenge we had this year, as many other departments and institutions had, with the sudden onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. It required CACIDRA's management to respond timeously and to ensure that the staff remain safe and healthy, and that CACIDRA continues to deliver the services it was contracted to do. Just in very brief then, Chair, a highlight, CACIDRA achieved another year of an unqualified or clean audit from the Auditor General, and this is an achievement we are extremely proud of. And then just, Chairperson, our thanks to our shareholder represented by Dr. Ivan Meyer for his continued support, and also thank you to Dr. Mogale Sebopetsa and his team for a very productive relationship. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moos. And with that, I want to hand over to Mr. Neft to take us quickly through the annual report, or just to highlight those issues that he would like to bring under our attention. Mr. Neft, please proceed.
Yes. Good afternoon, members of the committee. I first want to introduce our team here this afternoon. With me here is Leonie's Seconds, our HR manager, Mr. Experience Matadiso, our marketing manager, Mr. Carl Borain, our accountant, and online from George is our regional manager, Mr. Johan Bronkhorst. So Mr. Freya van Zyl, as you have mentioned, is at the CCMA today, and therefore he cannot attend, and he asked our team to be here to respond to any questions that the Standing Committee may have regarding our annual report. So I want to give it back to you, Chair, to ask the members to ask questions, and we will be ready and willing to answer on any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Neft. Honourable members, can I again see by ask that you indicate by a raise of hands if there are any questions that you would like to put to the CACIDRA senior management or council? Thank you. I don't immediately see any hands. If you wouldn't mind, I would just like to ask a few questions. The first one, and I'm going to refer to page numbers, as our procedural officer has asked me to do. The first one is on page 9. We heard from the AG, and we've read in here that in terms of the dispute with the Auditor General about the handling or the classification of the money paid to CACIDRA, that they've appealed the outcome of the court decision, the court which first ruled in favor of the Western Cape Provincial Government. Do you have any indication of when this appeal will be heard? Then the second one, a little bit down on the discontinued activities, also on page 9, if you could just explain to me this Rural Development Program and Rehabilitation Environmental Areas for Prosperity, the REAP program, were discontinued by the funder. Who used to be the funder for this program? And Are there any reasons? Did this program achieve its objectives, or did it perhaps not achieve its objectives? But why do you believe was it discontinued? Is it a matter of funding? Then, if I look at the number of support programs that CASIDRA is implementing, and Honorable Maran referred to CASP, for example, earlier, but there are quite a number of these grants that we receive, for example, from National. If you could perhaps just respond to my question on whether there may be duplication in some of these grants, and that perhaps a cleaning up of grant allocations is needed, or do you believe that the various foci or focuses of these programs differ enough so that there's no duplication? And I'll just come back to the issue of duplication a little bit later as well. On page 10, you indicate that CASIDRA endeavors to attract additional income through project implementation support. It almost seems to me as if you want to sell CASIDRA's skills and body of knowledge also to other entities that might be in need of project management skills, etc. Is that what you mean by that? Then you're also referring, or this acting CEO referred in his report on page 10 still, that CASIDRA strives to lobby the public and private sectors as wide as possible for funding. Perhaps if you could just tell us whether you've been able to unlock the future funding that was envisaged. And I do recall that I think some of the funding that you may have unlocked was that from the services CETA. Is that the kind of funding sources that you are looking for? Then also, if I may, page 13, one of the implementation projects is Project Kulisa, right at the bottom left side of page 13. And again, this project Kulisa's primary aim was to create jobs and grow the economy in the Western Cape. Perhaps if you could just expand a little bit on this project, because then in the next column, at the top of the column on page 13, you say real impetus of this program is slow, but smallholder farmers are identified and supported to supply for the agri-processing sector. Perhaps if you could just explain to us why you believe that the impetus of this program is slow, and is there anything that we can do to assist this program in order for you to have a bigger effect in terms of the funding we made available for that? On page 14, when you speak about the community gardens and the household gardens, etc., I would like to know, do you believe that a vegetable garden that relies solely on municipal drinking water for irrigation purposes, can that be a cost-effective exercise? Because obviously, you know, we have got limits in terms of our municipal drinking water, and I do know that in the past, those involved with the preparation of municipal drinking water say that they go to great lengths to ensure that the quality of that water is high and conforms to all the standards. And then for them, it's often quite sad to see that we use a lot of that high quality water then for irrigation purposes. So perhaps if you could just, because there are so many of these household vegetable garden initiatives which seem to be, you know, embarked upon with a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm. But if I look at the number of neglected vegetable gardens, be it at our school grounds, be it in private household gardens, be it in community gardens, it just seems to me as if there is a problem to do this in a sustainable way. And then on page 15, when you speak about the alien vegetation and the clearing of aging vegetation. And can I immediately say, I think this is a wonderful project, particularly in those drought-stricken areas where we do know that we need to render additional support to many of those farm workers that may have been left without an income, or where the opportunity for seasonal work ceased to exist during the last season, etc. This is a wonderful initiative. I really want to applaud you for that. But my question is just again, don't we have a lot of duplication with other initiatives such as the Working on Water initiative? Because this committee is not only the Committee for Agriculture, but also for Environmental Affairs. And I recall that Cape Nature has also embarked on a similar program whereby they seem to try and clear alien vegetation. So if you could just help us there with that one. On page 16, when you speak about the services CETA, again, I think this is a wonderful initiative, but I do know from other service providers that they sometimes have a battle going on for years to be able to obtain the final certificates from the CETAs. And, you know, any training which is now accredited, etc., unfortunately remains vapor, if I can call it like that, if it's not on paper. And it seems to me as if in many other cases, to obtain the final certificates of achievement is extremely difficult. And I would like you to please share with us what has been your experiences in this regard. Then if we can then jump and move on to page 30, again, the issue of community gardens. There you, about 2/3 down on that page, you say community gardens. There's been about 88 per annum, but a decrease is expected due to less funding. Now, I presume that eventually one would like a community garden to be self-sustainable, and perhaps if you could, in your answer, just link onto that one. And then again on page 31, I've earlier also referred to the LREAD program. Again, you say the unsatisfactory skills and knowledge base of new entrants in the agricultural sector have been identified as some of the major reasons for land reform projects not to succeed. Now, this program is coming to an end, or has come to an end in October, it seems. And my question is just again, you know, if the need is there for skills development, you know, first, what skills are you referring to, and what, in your estimation, why is this program come to an end? Is it again perhaps not that it will not be that it was not making the impact that one would like to see a program of this caliber make? And then, honourable members, I think that brings me to the end of this round of questions from my side. I see Honourable Maseku's hand. Honourable Maseku, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm sorry, I've been in and out of the meeting. If maybe the question that I'm going to ask has already been asked, my apologies in advance. I just want to find out from Minister, the macro organizational structure for the board of directors and the management team, it lacks representation from women. Is there any succession plan to the next round of the board to have women, or there is a problem that women are not interested in agriculture, or what are the reasons that we don't have any representation of women? Because I see it's only a low percentage of women representation in the management team and on the board of directors. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Maseku. And if you could lower your hand, over then to Honourable Maran.
Thanks very much. I'm also in and out of this meeting. I think it's the wind, Chair, that impact on the strength of my connection.
You may
Because I have not
proceed. I
heard you
just
ask
want
for
to.
questions.
Yes, no, apologies. Then you were out at that stage. And if I could just point out to Mr. Neff that your microphone is on, perhaps you can just put yourself on mute temporarily until the Honourable Maran has asked his question. Thank you, Mr. Neff. You can proceed, Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I also got a couple of questions. I think, Chair, when we have dealt with the Department of Agriculture, there was a misunderstanding. Remember last year when we have dealt with the annual report, we have dealt with A, then B, then C, then D. But it seems these times we deal once with all these questions. So I might have understood it wrong when we have dealt there. But as it may. So I'm going to deal with all my questions now. Chair, but before I deal with the questions, I want to congratulate the Casidra for their clean audit that they have received. I remember, Chair, not so long ago, and I'm not sure whether it was the CEO, also reported that Casidra over the last 30 years, I think he have said, have received, I think, unqualified reports or either clean reports, Chair. Now, I'd like to understand, Chair, that if that was the case, then what went wrong with Vikra and Amalienstein, Chair? What went wrong with those two farms? Because the drought, we only have experienced drought over the last 4 to 5 years. But before that, Chair, so I would like to understand then, despite the good reports that we have received, what went wrong with those two specifically, Chair? Then, Chair, let me quickly go to the questions. Be patient with me. Chair, page 33. The number of projects implemented, Chair, and it speaks to targets, and there's if you look at sub-program 3.2, the actual target was 61. Then the actual performance was 38, shortfall of 23. The reason is that basically it's demand driven, Chair. It's demand driven. Now, are we saying, Chair, that are considerers saying that they are sitting back and wait for those who come forward and wants to assist to be assisted? Because if I understand it correctly, they say there must be a demand, rather saying it's supply driven. So I like to understand that one, Chair, page 36. More or less the same target was 197, actual 84, therefore shortfall 115. The reason of the funding did not materialize, Chair. They said the funding for this program did not materialize. So I'd like to understand, Chair, where was the funding supposed to come from? And why did it not materialize? Chair. A person withdraw his commitment. He didn't come forward with the money, Chair. Then, Chair, on page 56, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, you are breaking up from time to time. I don't know if it's only on my side, but I think the officials would have heard enough to be able to respond to that question. Please proceed.
Capture the question.
Now your signal has gone worse.
Page 50. Am I there, Chair?
Page 50, I couldn't get the last part of that. Page 50.
6.
Thank you.
Chair, the AG's report and then the adjustment of material misstatements, AG identified material misstatements within the annual performance reports.
Sorry, Honourable Maran.
Reported performance.
Sorry, Honourable Maran, we've lost you now. Can I just point out that page 56 is part of part E, and as I've said initially, we're not We're not dealing with section C and E today. That will be dealt with, I think, when we are also invited and welcome to attend the SCOPA meeting scheduled for January. Do you hear me?
Okay, Chair, let me quickly check. Can you quickly check for me, Chair, page 60, is it also part of E?
Page 60, it's also part of E.
No, let me leave then those two questions. Let me stick to 33 and 30.
Good, thank you, Honourable Maran. Honourable Maran, please, keep that note for those questions for when we deal specifically with sections C and E. You're coming and going. You're coming and going.
Yeah, no. Chair, I have said if both 56 and 60 is part of E, let me rather leave it for now and stick with 33 and 36. The two that I've already
proposed. Yes. Thank you, Honourable Maran. And please, as I've said, please hang on to those questions and please ask them when the department and Casidra appear in front of SCOPA early next year. So with that, I would like to, I see another hand, that of Honourable Maseku.
My apologies, Chair. Just one question quickly. On page 9, the Chief Executive Officer's overview, there is a heading of the capacity constraints and challenges facing the public entity. And the statement there, it's saying that the demand for on-time and efficient project implementation in public sector requires a highly motivated. So the whole story that is under that heading, I just want to understand why is the Chief Executive Officer giving that story as a capacity constraint, and does he feel that they need more employees or more officials in project management, or he feels that they are biting more than they can chew from Casidra? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable. And then I also recognize Honourable Bartman.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to firstly thank the department for their presentation as well as Casidra, and congratulate them on the clean audit, as well as wish the department well on the upcoming court case. I know that the Auditor General has appealed the court case. I wish them well. But Chair, what I wanted to ask is related to targets, and I'll probably ask this to other departments as well. And I just wanted to find out from Casidra, what do they take into consideration when they create their targets in their strategic plans? Because, for example, in some departments, we see the targets being set, and then sometimes targets are changed. And then we also need to try and understand across committees what exactly are our roles when it comes to the evaluation of these targets. If I could just get a view on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. And as some of the officials might know by now, I would like to see more qualitative targets and less quantitative, because to say 5 reports, it doesn't describe the quality of those reports, etc. So, Honourable Maran, is that a hand raised earlier?
Sorry, Chair, my mistake.
Good, thank you very much. So, in the absence of any further hands at this point in time, can I hand over to Mr. Neft and his team? Mr. Neft, now you can unmute yourself. You've just done so. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the honourable members for all the questions. So I think there's quite a few questions around the inputs from our acting CEO, Mr. Freek van Zyl, and I would request that we ask him to actually respond to that in writing. And on the issue around the AG and the court case, this is a case that is against the Department of Agriculture, and indirectly Casidra will be impacted by the outcomes of that case. So I would suggest that perhaps Dr. Sebopetsa respond to where that case is at the moment, but Casidra will definitely be impacted should the case or the outcomes of the case be negative and not a positive outcome. Then, so that's on page 9 that you referred to. On the REAP program was a brand that was created some time back, and it was funded by the Department of Agriculture. So the funding has stopped. The idea of the brand was to, especially for the alien clearing and the biomass that is generated out of that alien clearing, that brand be used to develop furniture, and some of the other projects out of that was, for instance, research in the use of charcoal out of that biomass. So the program was stopped. The idea was eventually to create secondary businesses out of the biomass that is generated when alien clearing happens. We trust that if funding again becomes available, that we then reactivate this program, because we believe there is opportunities there for job creation. So the other question that you referred to is there any duplication when it comes to grants? The answer would be no, because when the funding either comes through whatever department, and in this case is now the Department of Agriculture, we implement the CAST project. So it's not, if it's implemented on our side, it's not implemented on their side. So my understanding is the government department that funds whatever we do, that they then, the funding comes to Casidra, and then we implement based on the MOA that we signed with that specific department. Casidra is a 3D, and as a 3D, we are allowed to also generate as a SOE additional funding, so that we can augment and grow the funding of the company, so that we can actually reach our mandate, which is economic and rural development in the context of the Western Cape. So that is what we do, and so therefore finding additional funding through project implementation or selling our services is critical. But of course, we need to do what our core mandate is in terms of the work that we do for the Department of Agriculture, who is our key and main stakeholder and partner. That is on the question around additional income. Then I will ask our HR manager, Ms. Lunice Seconds, just to speak to the CETA and the training that we are doing. Lunice, please.
Good afternoon, Honourable Van der Westhuizen and members. I'll speak to the question regarding CETA, which we all know is quite a cumbersome process. With regards to Casidra, our process has really dealt with the extension of scope of the unit standards that were accredited. So I can really say that the rollout of this first course seemed to be very valuable, and we could identify pitfalls and support structures. So yes, when once the training was completed, candidates received a certificate of attendance, and we're now in the process where we're waiting for the vetting and verification so that the accredited certificate can be issued, bearing in mind that we had COVID and people working from home remotely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seconds. Then I would request that on Project Kulisa, that we give a written response on that one, and on the slow implementation. Then on page 14, community gardens and households, the questions around whether it is counterproductive to use municipal drinking water. Now, what we and I want to ask that Mr. Jerry Aris from the department, FSD, acting chief director, also come in here if he wants. But I think the critical thing here is we, as part of this community gardens and also that we support, we also put up a lot of tanks that that use the water from the rooftops that goes into these tanks. So in this way, we are trying to minimize the use of municipal water for this community gardens or household gardens that we put up. So at this point, if Mr. Aris wants to come in here, because I know this is a project that is funded by the department.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Chair, yes, we are not advising people to use municipal water when we are implementing those projects. Obviously, we are supporting them with tanks where we harvest water from roofs. Always bigger gardens, and there's opportunity for a well point, we will support that one. Or even if we need a borehole in arid areas and we can find water and it's making sense, Chair, we will go for it. But the first thing is obviously water harvesting, and then we are giving them a family drip system where we can recycle water either from taps or bathrooms, and they can use that water as well. But we will not advise to use municipal water because it's just too expensive and a scarce resource. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Neft.
Then on page 14, around alien vegetation, working for water, and whether there's any duplication. So the work that we've done for sustainable resource management, and this can also come in here, but I would say there's no real duplication. There's also work that we do for Department of Environmental Affairs, DIA, so the idea is not to work in the same areas, and so where somebody else has already worked, typically the work will not be done there, but the idea is to create jobs for local communities and put food on the table. So a lot of this alien clearing work is done by often unskilled labor, and this creates job opportunities that's critical, especially in the rural context. I don't know if Ms. Asia Peterson wants to add to this, because this is a program that was funded by SRM at the department.
Honourable Chair.
Please proceed, Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. Mr. Neff is correct that the Department of Environmental Affairs, the implementing agent is Cape Nature, and most of the work that they do happens in the parks, in Cape Nature parks. And the work that we, Department of Agriculture, do is in collaboration with private landowners. But it's correct in terms of we don't work in the same areas. We do have engagements with each other where we identify the areas that we will be working in to ensure that there's no duplication. Thank you, Chair.
Good, thank you. That is good to hear. Mr. Neft.
Refer to household gardens, and that due to the funding shortage that the numbers will be less. And I'm actually, due to COVID, a lot of funding has become available that actually changed that fact. Now, this is, of course, after the fact. The fact that COVID came and there's, at the moment, much more funding being made available for implementation to support food gardens in communities, and the CEDA team at this stage is working overtime to deliver on all the new targets set for food security and supporting household gardens. So that's on that specific point on page 30. On LRED, which on page 31, you refer to the LRED program that is driven by our staff member, that is also funded by the Department of Agriculture, Mr. Wouter Kriel. So the idea is to support typically commercial farmers who want to engage with black farmers who want to buy land and to put together that deal so that we can have more black farmers entering the market. So that's the idea there. And our board requested a full report from Mr. Kriel on all the successes of the program. Part of a critical part that we've discovered is that a lot of the farmers that wants to access land, there's often a skills deficit. And part of the work that we need to do is to empower and train some of these farmers in, it's about negotiation skills, how to engage with a big commercial farmer if you want to buy part of his land. So that kind of skills is skills that we believe some of our emerging farmers need, and they need to access training for that. Then on the Honorable Maseko's question on the board, I want to ask our board chair, Mr. H.D. Moos, to respond to that. I know the board made some decisions on particular women and on the board. Mr. Moos can respond on that one.
Chairperson, may I proceed?
Please proceed. Thank you, Mr. Moos.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, Honorable Maseko is indeed absolutely correct. This is a matter that the board views in a serious light. Chairperson, if I may, I just want to highlight that over the last 2 years, 3 female board members actually exited the board due to personal circumstances. The last one was Ms. Nakadin, and on page 59, at the top of page 59, one could see that Ms. Nakadin resigned in August last year. And before her was actually my predecessor as chairperson of the board, Dr. Leonie Kutsia, was also female board member chair. So it is not that we've never had greater representativity before. We have indeed, chairperson, but we definitely note Honorable Maseko's concern that the board should attend to this, and we view that in a serious light, and we will come with a proposal, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neft, again, over to you.
Yeah, then on the targets and how it is articulated within the report, I want to ask our marketing manager, Mr. XP, that one, please, Batadiso.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Protocol observed that side. Can I proceed?
Please do.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Chair. This is actually the process in terms of developing the targets. We actually follow the process that is developed, that is led by the Premier's office in terms of monitoring and evaluation, where we start the process with our developing our annual performance plan. And from there, as the company, we've got our strategic orientated goals, which lead us to actually identify all the projects that needs to be implemented and all this. And then from there, we follow the framework of the Premier's office to develop the annual performance plan and to develop the necessary targets, which we also align it with our Department of Agriculture to ensure that as they are implementing company, everything is in line and we report accordingly to avoid duplication. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I just want to make sure if that response also covered Ms. Honorable Bartman's questions on how our targets is developed, or is there a need for more input on that?
I will give the members an opportunity to follow up on their questions right at the end.
Yes. Then, can I proceed, Chair?
Please do. Please do.
Then on page 36, you referred to funding that did not materialize. And there's two specific projects where we submitted funding proposals and where the prospects was quite good that we would receive that funding within this specific reporting year. But this funding hasn't materialized. And at the moment we are in discussions with DDAT to further support the Entrepreneur Support Fund, which supported micro enterprises in the rural context, and we had quite successes there, and that is under consideration. And the last one, the UIF, where we hope to receive about 100 million from the UIF for to support job creation in the Western Cape at this moment. That is still outstanding, and that's why that is reported in that way. On the capacity issue that is in the acting CEO's report, I can make general remarks, but I want to request that the acting CEO respond in writing on that specific issue. The reality is that the more work we do, it's always a balancing act between the capacity and the kind of funding that we have available to pay all the staff members. So we need to ensure that there's enough funding to cover all the cost that we incur to implement projects. But I request that the acting CEO respond on that in writing. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Neft. I think that dealt with all the questions that you initially had to deal with. Honourable members, therefore, over to you again if there are any follow-up questions or new questions that you would like to pose during a second round. I recognise Honourable Maseko.
Chair, there is just one outstanding of the management team. I hear the answer of the board that there are a few women that resigned and were replaced by men after they resigned, which it seems is quicker to get men to replace, and a little bit struggle to get women to replace as they resign. But on the management team, what is the succession plan to have women representation?
Thank you, Honourable Maseko, and then also I recognise Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Chair. As I've said, I'm in and out of the meeting. I got some connection problems. And I'm not sure, Chair, the question of mine on page 33, where it was answered, the one of target 61 and actual 38, and the reason demand driven. If it was answered, Chair, then it's fine. I can't blame officials for my bad reception. It's fine. So I just want to check when, and I think it's a question that you have asked. I also wanted to ask the question initially, especially in the area of mine, my constituency, also the constituency of the MEC, Batsenberg, for instance, where there is those new water meters, which basically limits you to, I think it's 300 cubic liters per day. And if you exceed that amount, your water will be cut and you will get your next allocation when the new day starts, or 12 o'clock in the evening. And now I had a response from the official by saying that they are harvesting rainwater and not necessarily water used for consumption, but also grey water, Chair. So I wanted to check how then those particular households, how they basically can slot into this particular program of household gardens. Also, Chair, the response that I've heard in terms of harvesting rainwater. Now, an area like Canaland and the Matsikama area and then parts of the Groot Karoo that are still trapped. And we have visited, I think, Chair, I'm not sure whether it was at the beginning of this year or at the end of last year. We visited Maritzburg, basically, and they've also benefited from these. How do we go about, Chair, harvesting rainwater where there's no rain, Chair? Those areas, Chair, have seen the rain. I can't even remember, Chair. How then, Chair, do we slot? And if we are saying that we're going to use like in grey water, so do the department assist because there's cost complications to connect? We have to connect and all those type of things. And most of these people are indigent. They don't have money, basically. Chair, how do we assist them for them to be able to grow their own food gardens? Thanks.
Thank you. In the absence of further hands, can I hand back to the officials?
Mr. Chair, yes. I'm going to ask our HR manager just to respond on the management succession plan.
Good afternoon, members again. In short response, yes, it is a priority to have more female representation on professionally qualified and senior management level. And it's something that we do address in our succession plan. I can also maybe just, the chairperson of the board is present, but I can also report that in applications received for the CEO vacancy, we received 12 females out of a pool of 99. So we do address it at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Neft.
Yes, thank you. Then on the question on demand-driven, I just want to ask our manager marketing just to speak to demand-driven, and this is to explain that for the benefit of Honourable Maran, who asked the question.
Thank you, Chairperson. If I may just respond to the demand-driven targets. Yes, if you look into our annual report, most of our targets are actually demand-driven, and this reason being the demand-driven targets are not really within the CACIDRA sphere. It depends on what we receive along the processes and all the stuff. We do plan to say X number. So sometimes we exceed the target that we have actually planned for, and sometimes we actually underperform on that as well, and which is actually the nature of our business. Basically, it is quite difficult to really be spot on in terms of targets. And hence now the Mr. Neft have also indicated, like as an example of food gardens. A minister is also available here who's running now the one home, one garden, where it exceeded the whole plan targets due to the demand. So that's why we've got mostly our demand-driven targets included. Thank you.
Thank you. I see, Honourable Maran, your hand is raised, but it might be from an earlier question session.
Honourable.
Sorry, can we just get, Honourable Maran, can I just get an indication? Is this a follow-up question?
Chair, no, there's not a follow-up question. A message popped up saying that someone in the meeting have muted you. Oh, no, the hand. Sorry, Chair.
Yes, and it was me that muted you, Honorable Maran, to try and get rid of.
You can, if you also can remotely lower my hand, then you can do the Chair, because I got screens in front of me, Chair. So I have to go back, please.
No, your hand has been lowered then. Thank you very much, Honorable Maran. Mr. Neft, you wanted to say?
Yes, I just wanted to respond on Honorable Maran's question on areas like Maritzburg and other areas where the rainfall is low, and so the water tanks using the downflow from the roofs is an issue. And I think Jerry Aris referred to the fact that we also do well points and boreholes and the use of grey water. So often some of the funding that we get is then channeled to establish well points and boreholes as a means to access that water sources needed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Neff.
Honorable Chair.
Yes. Is it Dr. Sebupetsa? Yes, I see a hand there.
Yes, please. I just want to respond very quickly to the question of municipal water and versus areas that are still drought-stricken. Granted, we live in a desert. I think South Africa is considered one of those countries that are water scarce. And what we encourage is the use of recycled water. But gardens are not the only approach to food security. We also encourage the growing of chickens, particularly egg-laying chicks, which does not necessarily need a lot of water to be able to produce the necessary results. So our approach is really based on existing resources, not really for the community, but for the household, because households are not the same. So that is really the approach that we use. But I want to respond very quickly to the question that Honorable Bartman had raised around how do we set our targets? Because I think that was a transversal question that also relates to the department. We really use the capability that we have, and that is basically the people that we have and the budgets that we have, but also the IT capability and everything else that allows us to determine what targets to set for each and every indicator. But we also use the trends, over the years, begin to see the extent to which we met or couldn't meet targets, and use that as part of the wisdom that goes into target setting. But thirdly, the periodic evaluations that we conduct also bring some insight, evidence as to, firstly, what targets to set, and also the issue around the numbers that are related to those particular targets. I thought I must respond to those questions, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sebupetsa. I recognize the hands of Honorable Maseko and then also of MEC Ivan Meyer. Honorable Maseko, is that the follow-up question?
Yes, Chair, just the last one from me. On the CASIDRA strategic plan for 2020-2025, there is a job creation initiatives on the sub-program 4.2. I just want so that it can be clear to me to have an understanding. And under that, 4.2 is a job creation. And it says that this program will access, facilitate and support job creation opportunities through partnering and implementing programs that require labor, and through training and skills development initiatives, focusing specifically at the youth and aimed at providing skilled entrance to jobs. And it goes on. Then when you go to the indicator number of the job creation initiatives of the same sub-program 4.2, then when you get the target for the youth is not applicable. So I'm trying to understand, on assumptions is none. And I want to understand, when I look at this strategic plan for 2020-2025, that what does it mean when you have the explanation of that sub-program, but when it comes to the indicators, it's not applicable. Can maybe I get the clarity to help me for future as I do the oversight? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Maseko. MEC Meyer, would you like to come in now, or would you first like the officials to respond?
No, I think there was a general point that was raised during the discussion. I think it's a very important matter, and I'm very thankful the chair of the board did answer the question. What we need to do in terms of the female representativity, we have seen that during COVID-19 that we have lost about 330,000 jobs here in the Western Cape. And I think it's only right, and given the fact that 2/3 of the people that have lost their jobs are women, I think we need collectively, all of us need to prioritize, and I have communicated this also to my HOD, that we must make extra efforts to appoint more women in positions, not only in CACIDRA on the department, but everywhere, in every activity where we are involved, because we know that when women are employed, there's a much bigger return on the well-being of a family. And so the issue of women representativity, it is not only something that we do because the country generally needs the representativity. It is a crisis that we now currently face as a result of COVID-19, and the most people that lost the jobs were women.
Thank
jobs, and we will certainly do so.
Thank you, Minister Meyer. It seems to me the wind is blowing there where you are as well. Honorable Maran, I think you've been trying for a while to get back into and to ask a question.
Chair, thanks. No, just want to thank the response by the HOD, and also raise the issue of chickens. They are not only focused on planting vegetables, Chair, and it's an issue that I will take up with him, Chair, offline, and see, Chair, how we can assist those who, because there's lots of people, Chair, or households that really wants to participate, but the issue of water, Chair, might be a problem. They will rather go into and correctly stated by the HOD that although they are also consumes water, is not that much as agriculture, and maybe how we can assist those who are interested in going into that particular issue, Chair, of agriculture, household chickens. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Maran. I see, Dr. Meyer, your hand is still raised, or is it again raised?
Chair, though, you can lower it, please.
Yes, thank you. And then Mr. Neft, back to you again.
Thank you, Chair. Just in response to Honorable Maseko's questions on 4.2, which I briefly alluded to the fact that we've submitted a proposal to the UIF under their labor activation program. Already in 2018, that submission was done. In this year, we had, I think in July, we had only the BAC of the UIF actually taking us through our paces and interviewing CACIDRA for the opportunity, and so there was always the possibility that we would actually get this opportunity to create job opportunities for about 1,700 young people with coupled with training which would have been funded by the UIF. At this point in time, we've referred this matter to the red tape reduction here in the Western Cape, and everybody's trying just to get the UIF to actually respond on this one, because the funding opportunity of 100 million coming into the province through this program is great. So that, therefore, because there's no movement on their side in terms of funding, that indicator is sitting where it is, Honourable Maseko. So that's the response on that one.
Thank you, Mr. Neft. I think we all know that UIF has been under severe pressure over the last few months with the COVID and also the TERS funding that they had to provide. And I presume all hands were on deck to help with TERS and similar claims. But yes, it would be wonderful if we could get that money. And I'm going to ask the committee members to consider putting this under our resolutions that we do follow up on this matter. Honourable members, I don't see any further hands at this point in time. Can I just ask, is there anybody else, perhaps members of the public that may have joined us in this meeting, that would like to ask a question regarding the annual reports of either the department or of CASIDRA? I do not see such an indication. Thank you. With that, then, can I ask that Honourable Maran?
I have not captured your question that you have posted us now.
No, I've given an opportunity, should there be any person in the meeting, not necessarily a member of the committee, who would like to pose a question regarding the annual reports of the department or CASIDRA, if the opportunity was given to them to also, as guests, bring anything under our attention that they would like to do. But I didn't get such an indication, and we are going to proceed then.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you. So then, can I just ask in that order, perhaps Mr. Neft, and then Dr. Sebopetsa, and then Dr. Meyer, are there any concluding remarks from your side before we as a committee go over to committee business? Mr. Neft?
From CASIDRA side, we want to thank the committee for all the support, and thank you for the questions that we could respond to this afternoon. All of the best with the work of the committee further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neft, and I take it that you will pass on the questions that you passed on. So it was such a nice rugby pass on to Mr. Van Zyl that he will respond in writing in due course. And with that, over to you, Dr. Sebopetsa.
Chair, thank you very much. We also want to thank you and the committee members for your oversight work. We are committed to the cause. We see our sector as a very important sector for the recovery of the economy in the Western Cape, and we look forward to further engage with you on the future plans around reigniting the economy of the Western Cape. But overall, thank you very much, Chair, and blessings.
Thank you, Dr. Sebopetsa, and a final word from Dr. Meyer.
Chair, thank you for this opportunity to both present the annual report of the Department of Agriculture as well as the report of CASIDRA. And as you've heard, CASIDRA is a very proud institution. I am very proud of this institution as our implementation agency, and I think they have a very good, excellent track record. And I want to thank also the chairperson of the board as well as the members of the board and the staff doing outstanding work, particularly as it relates to the vegetable garden, given the fact that we have now a massive humanitarian relief effort and the economic recovery phase that is led by agriculture. Chair, you have seen that in the first quarter, and the second quarter of 2020, that the only sector that had positive economic growth in South Africa was the agricultural sector, 28% in the first quarter, 15% in the second quarter. And what we have seen in the third quarter of 2020 is really a trade surplus, largely also driven by the agricultural sector. And so we thank the committee for their oversight work, because we believe that agriculture will be central in the economic recovery of South Africa, obviously together with other critical sectors of the economy. And I think the work of this committee is for us very critical and very important. And I want to express our deep thanks and appreciation for the support of this committee, especially particularly given this current financial year from which we will report in the new year. But thanks very much for the questioning and the spirit of which the questioning happened. I think it helps us to sharpen our mind as we go forward. And since this is the last time we are appearing before the Standing Committee, I would also like to wish members of the Standing Committee and members of my department and the members of the CASIDRA and the board a very happy festive season. And please do three things. Continue wearing your mask. Please avoid crowded places. And if you're in a crowded place, please make sure that you have absolute clear ventilation in this particular space, and please keep safe, and we pray for your families. Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer, Dr. Sibupetsa, and Mr. Neft, and your respective delegations. Also from my side, Dr. Meyer took a lot of the words from my mouth. I want to wish you all well. Thank you very much for the interaction and the numerous times that we could interact during the course of this calendar year. It was always very interesting. We learned a lot from you, and we appreciate the relationship that there is between this committee as an oversight body and the entities reporting to it. Thank you very much. And I would just like to add, in addition to the wishes from Dr. Meyer regarding COVID, I do know that agriculture and farming doesn't know things like holidays, but I do hope that there will be a wonderful time and that you will have an opportunity to rest for those of you that are able to take leave this time of the year, and also that this time of year, for those of you that are going to celebrate Christmas, will also be a spiritual journey and a time of renewal and joy. And we're looking forward to seeing you then in 2021 again. Honourable members, please stay online so that we can deal with the minutes of our previous meetings and the agendas. But to the officials, you are most welcome to leave should you wish to do so. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, honourable members. If I could just get some feedback from you, Ms. Niekerk circulated three.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Sibupetsa. She circulated three sets of minutes earlier today. It was late morning. Can I just ask whether you would be happy for us to include that onto our agenda and to deal with that today as well?
Chair.
Honourable Maran and then Honourable Bartman.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Now we have received three sets of minutes, the meeting of the 17th of November, and then, Chair, meetings of on the 27th November, both agriculture and environmental affairs, Chair. On the 17th of November, I've gone through it, and it's the minutes is captured correct, Chair. Unless someone
Thank you, Honourable Maran. We've lost you right at the very end, but it seems to me you're not only happy for us to take it onto the agenda, but also to consider them. I'm going to hand then over to Honourable Bartman and then Honourable Maseku.
Chair, I wanted to echo Member Maran's input. I think that we have the capacity to consider those minutes today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Honourable Maseku.
Chair, I support the move that we support all the minutes individually.
Good,
as they
thank you.
stand.
Thank you, honourable members. So then let me just, before we get to the resolutions, we've changed the order of the agenda somewhat. First put to you then the minutes of the 17th of November, just so that we individually adopt them. Is there support for the 17th of November's minutes?
I support the minutes.
I was locked out now, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much, Maseko and Maran. Then can on the 27th, while we're now dealing with the Department of Agriculture, can we, the minutes dealing with the budget of the Department of Agriculture?
I move that we support, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Maseko.
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. And then also on the 27th, then the set of minutes dealing with environmental affairs and development planning.
Support, Chair.
Thank you. Seconder. Sorry, I got an indication from Honourable Bartman. Thank you very much.
Seconded.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Honourable members, that brings us to our resolutions emanating from this meeting. Are there any aspects in those annual reports that you would like us to take further or to come back to? If I may, I would like our procedural officer, Ms. Nikak, just to minute that there were some questions posed to the CEO or the acting CEO of Casidra, to which they indicated that they would respond in writing. So if it's fine with you, I'm just going to ask Ms. Nikak as a first resolution just to follow up with Casidra on that promise of theirs. Good. Any further items that you would like to add? I recognize the hands of Honourable Bartman and then Maseko.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to propose that if there were any specific documentation or things that were asked or promised now, if the procedural officer can just read those out to us so that we can see if we've missed anything and then able to add instead of us going through every single one. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. I don't know if Ms. Nikak would be able to read them straight away or whether she will have to go back to the recording. Ms. Nikak, perhaps you can just give us an indication.
Thank you, Chairperson. This time around with the annual report, there was actually no specific documentation that was requested from members. I think the questions asked were answered, except that during the discussion, mention was made that we would come back to the issue of the Brandvlei Dam, and then the committee would compile a resolution around that in terms of how to take that further. And then also a concern that was raised was the representation of women in terms of Casidra now, the representation of women in management positions and those serving on the board. That was just raised as a concern, as well as the follow-up on the UIF funding for the job creation that Mr. Neft has just spoken about, a resolution around that. And then I have captured that Mr. Neft was not not able to respond to the CEO, but suggested that the CEO responds in writing, especially to the capacity constraints and the challenges facing the public entity, and more specifically, what emanated from the meeting from members, and members can tell me if I'm correct, is that the CEO is then to mention in that response what is needed specifically in terms to improve the specific capacity constraints as mentioned in the report. And that's what I have, but no request for documentation was captured, or I didn't pick up on any of that, Chair. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Honourable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Chair. Member Maran, leave the dog alone. Chair, I am a little bit concerned. I don't know how can we raise this, because I asked just a question, because when we do the annual reports, you have to also look at the APP and the strategic plan so that you can be able to check the annual report of the info that is in front of us. But from the CASIDRA strategic plan of 2020 to 2025, they talked, I just made an example for the program 4.2, but also program 2.1, when coming to the youth and women, it's not applicable. There's no any anticipation of the number or the target. And my worry is that is CASIDRA saying the dependency is only on the UIF? There's no any other innovative way that they can create the fund for job creation. It's one of those things that I don't know how do we put a resolution to it, but when you look at the strategic plan, it's worrisome with the not applicable of the youth and the women in CASIDRA, whilst they are the implementing agent for agriculture in making sure agriculture is sexy enough for the youth and women.
Can I perhaps try and say, it seems to me what may be beneficial is for us also to get an indication of how much of the training that they provide or the support that they give is to women and the youth in agriculture. Would that capture your concern, Honourable Maseko? Honourable Maseko?
Just give me a second, sorry, Chair. I was talking without unmuting myself. If we can ask for the targets for the, just in writing, the 1.4 strategic training, the 1.5, the program 2 also, and the program 3 and 4, because in all these programs on the strategic plan is not applicable, and the anticipation of the number is not there at all. So if we can take the program, all the sub-programs on the strategic plan and ask the anticipated targets and see what are they going to send to us.
Good, thank you very much, Honourable Maseko. Can I take that then as being supported by the committee, and it becomes a committee resolution? Honourable Maran, your hand is raised. Thank you.
Yes, yes, Chair. Just on the issue of Brandfly Dam, Chair. Chair, I'm not sure whether we should go for a resolution, given the fact that the MEC have explained to us the process that's busy unfolding and his involvement in this particular issue. Maybe what we should do, Chair, is to give the MEC the opportunity, because you have mentioned the date, the month of February. Maybe allow the MEC to proceed and see how far he got, and then maybe, Chair, if things have not gone into the right direction comes February, maybe then, Chair, in our first sitting in the new year, for us maybe to take a resolution and see how we then will proceed with this particular matter.
Thank you, Honourable Maran. Just to ensure that it doesn't fall off the table between now and January, February, perhaps if we could just accept the resolution that we will be monitoring the Brandfly Dam project on an ongoing basis. Would that
I fully agree. I seconded that proposal as a resolution, Chair.
Yes, thank you very much. And then, honourable members, I was just wondering, there's another project that's been mentioned both in the budget that we dealt with yesterday, as well as in the annual reports, and that is called the Whole Sloot Mapping Project. And it seems to me that has got to do with the Jan de Toys river environment, which I think Honourable Maran might be more familiar with than myself. But I was just wondering whether we shouldn't perhaps as a committee see whether there would be an opportunity for us to ask for more information. And quite often the way to get more information and also get a clearer picture of what is envisaged of both the whole Sloot mapping project and the Brandvlei Dam project is to see whether we can't fit in, perhaps early in next year, a site visit to these projects. Would that carry your support, honourable members?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. I heard Honourable Maran clearly, and I think Honourable Bartman just came on quickly, and also she was also in support of that. Are there any further resolutions that you would like to propose, honourable members?
No, Chair.
Thank you. From Honourable Bartman.
None.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Most of my questions have previously been answered in other committee meetings as already.
Thank you. And then Honourable Maran, anything that
Yes,
you would
Chair.
like to propose? Yes.
I want to propose closure, Chair.
Okay, good. Then, honourable members, I want to say thank you very much. Let me just ask Ms. Niekerk before we say goodbye to one another if there's anything else that she still requires of us today.
No, no, Chairperson, I don't require anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just ask Ms. Niekerk, when will we be seeing each other again?
Well, as soon as next week, Chairperson, for the Department of Environmental Affairs and Cape Nature's annual report. That's the Tuesday, the 8th of December at 2 o'clock.
Correct. So it will again be an afternoon session. I do know many of you may be on the road or may already be at your destination for your activities on the 9th of December. So honourable members, may I please ask that you try to see if you could be in an area where you have good reception or good signal. That would be much appreciated. I do understand that it's not always within our domain or within our ambit to ensure that, but it would be most appreciated. So, honourable members, thank you very much for this Friday afternoon's input. And Ms. Niekerk, thank you very much again for all your arrangements to make this possible. To the other support staff that I still see online, including our ICT and Senior Procedural Officer, a hearty thank you to all of you. And then, honourable members, I wish you a good weekend, and we'll be meeting again then next week on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, and a good evening to you all.